You think you are a good judge of character. You believe that when someone lies to your face, your intuition will instantly warn you. You think you are too smart, too experienced, and too self-aware to be manipulated by the people around you. You are completely wrong. The brutal reality is that your inability to read people is not a lack of intelligence. It is a biological feature. Your brain has been evolutionary, hardwired to ignore red flags, excuse toxic behavior, and blindly trust the people who are quietly destroying you. Every time you were betrayed, every time you were blindsided by a friend, a partner, or a colleague, the signs were entirely visible. But your neurochemistry actively blocked you from seeing them. Most people spend their entire lives wondering why they keep attracting manipulators and liars. They blame bad luck. They blame the modern world. But they never look at the biological machine operating inside their own skull. If you want to stop being used, confused, and constantly disappointed by human behavior, you must understand the dark psychology of your own biology. In the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal the hidden, evolutionary reason you cannot read people. You are going to learn exactly how manipulators weaponize your own neurochemistry against you. And most importantly, I will give you the clinical protocol to override your primal instincts, shatter the illusion, and become a completely unreadable observer. Write this down immediately. Your brain prefers a comfortable lie over a dangerous truth. By the end of this protocol, you will rip the blindfold off forever. Let's dismantle the biological trap you are living inside. To understand why you are so easily deceived, you have to look at how your brain evolved. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, survival was entirely dependent on the tribe. If you belonged to the group, you lived. If you were exiled, you died. This created a profound evolutionary mandate. Social harmony is more important than objective reality. Psychologists call this the truth default theory. When you interact with someone, your brain automatically assumes they are telling the truth. Why? Because constantly questioning the motives of everyone in your tribe would create massive social friction. It would lead to conflict, paranoia, and eventually, exile. So, your brain optimized for survival. It installed a cognitive blind spot. It made it biologically uncomfortable for you to suspect deception. When someone's actions do not match their words, your brain experiences a spike of cortisol, the stress hormone. To relieve this stress, your brain does something terrifying. It invents excuses for the liar. You tell yourself they are just tired. You tell yourself you are overthinking it. You do the psychological heavy lifting to maintain the illusion of harmony, entirely at the expense of your own safety. You're not misreading them. Your biology is actively censoring the truth. But predators do not share your biological limitations. Dark triad personalities, narcissists, Machiavellians, and psychopaths understand your biological programming better than you do. They know that your brain is desperate for connection and harmony, and they weaponize this against you using your own hormones. When a manipulator targets you, they do not start with aggression. They start by mirroring you. They copy your body language, adopt your values, and pretend to share your exact worldview. When they do this, your brain releases a massive flood of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is incredibly dangerous because it chemically suppresses the amygdala, the fear and threat detection center of your brain. Once the oxytocin hits, you are biologically disarmed. Your critical thinking shuts down. The manipulator can now show you their true, toxic behavior, and your brain will simply ignore it. You will rationalize their disrespect. You will forgive their inconsistency because the chemical bond is telling your nervous system that this person is safe. They have hacked your biology to bypass your defenses. Here is exactly how you hack them back. To read people instantly, you must stop trying to read their emotions and start reading their cognitive load. Lying is biologically exhausting. When someone is telling the truth, their brain simply retrieves a memory. It requires very little energy. But when someone is lying, they have to construct a false reality. Monitor your reaction to see if you believe it. Suppress their genuine emotions, and remember the details of the lie for future use. This requires massive amounts of processing power from the prefrontal cortex. It is heavy. You cannot see a lie, but you can absolutely see the weight of the cognitive load. When a person's brain is overloaded by deception, the mask begins to crack. They will experience micro-leaks. You will see a delay in their responses, just a fraction of a second too slow, because their brain is processing the lie. You will notice their gestures do not align with their words. They might say yes while subconsciously shaking their head no. Their blink rate will drop drastically as they focus entirely on maintaining their performance and then flutter rapidly once the lie is delivered. The average person completely misses these micro-leaks because they are listening to the words. The calm observer ignores the words entirely and watches the biological system crash under pressure. Now, let me introduce you to the ultimate stress test. If you suspect someone is hiding their true intentions, do not interrogate them. Do not ask emotional questions. Introduce the weapon of strategic silence. Silence is the heaviest cognitive burden you can place on a liar. When someone finishes a sentence that you know is a manipulation, simply look them directly in the eyes and say absolutely nothing. Do not nod. Do not smile. Do not frown. Just wait. For an honest person, silence is just a pause in the conversation. But for a liar, silence is a threat. Their overloaded prefrontal cortex instantly assumes the performance has failed. The silence forces them to generate more words to fill the void, and in their panic, they will over-explain, they will contradict themselves, and they will expose the exact thing they were trying to hide. You do not have to break them. Silence will make them break themselves. This brings us to the most dangerous flaw in your psychology. Empathy. Society teaches you that empathy is a virtue. It teaches you to always put yourself in someone else's shoes, to understand their pain, to see the good in everyone. But when you are dealing with manipulative people, empathy is not a virtue. It is a fatal vulnerability. When you apply empathy to a predator, you project your own conscience onto someone who does not have one. You assume that because you would feel guilty for acting a certain way, they must be feeling guilty too. You assume that deep down, they are just hurt, misunderstood, or defensive. You invent a soul for someone who is entirely hollow. Manipulators feast on empathetic people. They use your compassion as a shield for their cruelty. Every time they cross a boundary, they will feed you a tragic backstory, and your empathy will force you to forgive them. It is time to override your programming permanently. If you want to survive the modern social hierarchy, you must learn the art of cold empathy. Cold empathy is the ability to understand exactly what someone is thinking and feeling without absorbing it. You observe their pain, you observe their motives, but you do not let it alter your boundaries. You become a clinician, a scientist studying a subject. When they act inconsistently, the biological victim gets confused, hurt, and angry. The victim demands an explanation. But you are no longer the victim. You are the observer. When they show you a red flag, you do not rationalize it. You do not let oxytocin blind you. You accept the data point as objective truth. You say to yourself, they just lied. This is their pattern. The data has been logged. You do not need to confront them. You simply adjust their access to your life, silently and ruthlessly. You stop giving away your trust based on biological impulses, and you start giving it based on verified, consistent behavior over time. Mastering this requires the painful discipline of ignoring your own hope. But the reward is absolute power. When you stop letting your biology dictate your relationships, you become untouchable. You stop being a pawn in other people's psychological games because you can see the board from above. The anxiety of not knowing who to trust disappears, replaced by the cold, calm certainty of objective observation. Your brain was programmed for the ancient world, but your mind can be upgraded for the reality of today. Stop listening to the performance. Start watching the biology. Subscribe to the channel to keep seeing reality clearly. Master your instincts. See you in the next protocol.